border, we were based in Natchez, and the heat became intense and the humidity. And of course, Daphne and Hugh and myself, we were stuck in that nasty old truck for day after day after day, shooting all the interiors of that, driving up and down and up and down the highway. It was a little uncomfortable. But we had fun. We couldn't get out of the vehicle because there were cameras and there was structures lashed all the way around the truck. So there was no exit for us. And we'd try and open the windows and find that they didn't work. And so we had to entertain ourselves, and for days and days, Hugh and Daphne and myself, we sang songs, we played games, we played word games, we did drawings, we did all kinds of caricatures and things. And she's a remarkable child, and we had a lot of fun.
Good. Questions from the audience? Yes. Just speak loud and not try to. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Stewart, I guess as a comic nerd and a Shakespeare nerd, I'm kind of curious, is there a Shakespearean role you haven't had a chance to play yet that you would love to play?
Oh, love that. Is there a Shakespearean role that you haven't played that you would love to?
Oh, there are several, but I never will, because I'm now just maybe a little too mature for these roles. I never played Hamlet. I never played Romeo, which I really wanted. I never played Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing. I never played Orlando in As You Like It. I was, as a teacher said to me on my final night at school, at acting school, after the final the presentation performances we gave for agents and managers, and everybody, it seemed, in my year had got somebody or a job, and I had nothing at all. I was sitting alone in the theatre looking at the stage thinking, well, that's it, it's over. You know, I've been taught for 2 years and now I have nothing to do. And one of the teachers came out and said, why are you sitting out here? Why aren't you in the party? And I said, I'm not feeling great. And he said, oh, I know what's going on. Look, can I speak frankly? By the way, when anybody says that to you, do say no. It doesn't lead to anything great. And he said, it's going to be very hard for you for the next 20 years. I was 19. He said, you're a character actor, you're not a juvenile, you'll never be a juvenile. And so it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but you know, it will come around in the end. And, he was wrong. It didn't turn out quite like that, largely because I went and bought myself, had made the most expensive hairpiece well, I spent everything I had on this thing. And as a result, I used to sell myself to regional theatre directors as 2 actors for the price of 1. And it worked again and again. They got it. Oh my Lord, we have a juvenile and we have a character actor. All in the same person. And he has his own hairpiece. I used to wear the hairpiece to auditions. And then I would take it, usually you do 2 pieces in an audition. I would wear the hairpiece, then I would take it off while I was telling them what the second piece was that I would do. And I did one afternoon audition for Laurence Olivier at the National Theatre, which he was running in those days. And I was rather cheeky and began my audition with a soliloquy from Henry V, which of course had been one of his most famous roles. And then, I can't remember what the second role was, but as I was talking to him, I was easing the thing off my head and unclipping at the back all the time while I talked to him, and then I put it down by the floor. And I said, I prepared myself to do my second piece, and he said, do it again. And I said, I'm sorry, do you want me to do the Henry V again? No. Put it on and take it off. This really happened, and so I did, and I took it off, and he said, marvelous. And that was my audition. I never got to do the second piece. And as years went by, and I used to go and see him doing performance after performance, because he was known to be a thief. He would steal from anybody. I had good ideas, and I waited for the moment when he would do this. Well, you never actually. And he never employed me.
Great question. Next question. Yes, down here. Oh, wow.
Hello, Sir Fred. It's two questions. One, what movie have you done which you would love to have done a sequel to, or would still love to play that character again? And two, what would be your number one tip for beginning actors?
So 2 questions. One is there any movie you've done where you would like to do a sequel we haven't? And secondly, one tip for the actors in the audience.
I can't think there's anything that I've done that I felt needed a sequel to it.
What do you would like to play?
Like to have done. Well, I've just finished a movie, a rather novel experience for me, in which I play a musician, a concert pianist, not real, a fictional character, but world famous concert pianist who loses his self-confidence, cannot play, loses the feeling for it. And so the story is about that and how he gets it back and what other people do for him. It's an interesting movie. And I enjoyed the piano playing so much. It gave me so much terrific satisfaction. I would have just liked to have done a movie about him playing Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Schubert. That would have been fun, but I don't think it would have attracted many people. Well, one piece of advice, it took me years and years and years to learn this, and I will tell you something else. The prince of my drama school said to me shortly before I graduated, and it was, and he was being helpful. He was he was always positive in his comments, but he gave me a pretty rigorous talking to. But he ended up by saying to me, Patrick, you must understand, you will never achieve success by insuring against failure. I knew exactly what he meant. And I thought I knew what he meant for years and years and years, but I didn't really. Ultimately, I did. So my word of advice was, you have to be fearless. You have to be so courageous and brave and listen to your instincts. Oh yeah, listen to other people, but listen objectively to other people. But the voice that you hear inside you saying, I know how this should be, that's what you have to listen to, because there's nobody else in the world like you. Nobody. And that's what will interest people. It will be the uniqueness of you. But so often we soften and blend and adjust and try to fit in and, all of that. But that is insuring against failure, which Duncan Ross pointed out to me. So I think, God, it takes enough courage anyway just to walk on stage sometimes, but to find the internal courage that will drive you forward, I think is everything.
There's a question. Yes, that's down there in the glasses.
You mentioned your experience with Bryan Singer sweet-talking you into the role. Was Ian McKellen already cast, and did he use either of your participation to sell it to the other one? Because obviously, we all know you guys are great friends now. Was that a selling point for you, or was that?
What you don't know that I found out the other day, somebody's written a 5,000-word disquisition on their relationship. I would love to read.
I look forward to reading that.
Yeah.
So do I. It's an academic study of our friendship. I don't recall, but I think not. I don't even think that any other cast members, though there must have been in mine, were mentioned to me It was the reasons that I gave earlier that I changed my mind about that. But I will be forever grateful to Brian that he brought Ian and myself together, because I'd known him a little for many years. I'd worked with him once before on a Tom Stoppard play with the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I liked him. I was actually intimidated by him. He was brilliant. Ian McKellen was brilliant before he left Cambridge University. People were already talking about him while he was still a student. And he was so talented and so smart and original and incredibly good looking, and none of which I was. And I just thought, well, that's where he is, and I can just, admire and leave it at that. And then suddenly we are in adjoining trailers in Toronto making this movie. And of course, on movies like this, you spend far more time waiting to work than actually working, and we would hang out in his trailer or mine and drink tea, coffee, and as the day wore on, maybe something else. And we found we had a huge amount in common. We're both Northerners, although he's a Lancastrian and I'm a Yorkshireman. And we had a history, a long history from childhood of a love of Shakespeare and of performing Shakespeare, and of an interest in theatre and an interest in the cinema. And we just became deeply fond. I love him very, very much, and don't see him often enough. He's just closed. Less than a week ago, he closed a 6-week run as King Lear at the Chichester Festival Theatre, which unfortunately we couldn't see. Was there a second part?
No, we've taken a couple more questions. One more. Let's have a brief. I've asked. We've had one from you. So yes, the person. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What's it like to work with William Shatner?
What was it like to work with William Shatner?
It was mostly fun. Isn't that what life is like? Nothing is ever just one thing. I enjoyed working with Bill very much, and we had a good time. We laughed a lot together, and he's a funny, cool guy. It was a little awkward because he had made very negative comments about Next Generation. Never had seen it in the early days of my show, and that didn't warm us towards him, particularly in Next Generation. But all of that passed away, and then he finally came and he did our first movie with me, and that was very pleasant.
I think that's it, right? Can we take
It is.
one more?
Sure.
Okay, one last question. Yes, the lady down here.
You talked about X-Men and Star Trek being some of your longest roles. I was wondering what you did to stay motivated to not fall into complacency.
You mean during those roles?
Yeah.
What did you do to in these long periods of time to not sort of become complacent in the role?
I can't answer the question because I don't know what that feels like. Complacency has never been part of my relationship to the job that I do. On the contrary, I am still thrilled and a little bit disconcerted by the fact that I've worked all these years and the work that I can still find to do. I love it so much. I love it even more now than I ever have done in my career. I'm more interested in the work and fascinated by the choices that one has available. And the moment I feel that one inch of complacency, I'll be gone.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.